Hello, this is Lilian, welcoming you to the 1899th edition of the Enfield Talking Newspaper, Dateline the 18th of April 2013. The readers this week are Joan, Beverly, Rod and myself, Lilian, with Cassandra and Colin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Boulon, Harry Brewer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include Benefits Cap Will Hurt Children, Gates Widened to Stop Damage, Campaign advises on spotting bowel cancer, and Traders Rage at Eviction Threat. If you are experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 0208 805 6578. That's 0208 805 6578. She is your listener's representative, and she will be pleased to help you. And I now have some special news items. Just to remind you all that there will be no Enfield Vision meeting on May the 6th, as it is a bank holiday. I'm sure you probably know about it, but this is just a reminder. And we will also go on to some more. It's What's On News, apparently. Northern Ballet are touring their production of The Great Gatsby to Sadler's Wells Theatre in May, which will include an audio-described performance on the 18th of May 2013 at 2:30 p.m, including a touch tour and workshop at 10:30 a.m. For more information, contact the ticket office on 0844 412 4300. That is 0844 412 4300. And the next one is Discover the Fascinating History of the Bank of England, from its foundation by Royal Charter in 1694 to its role today at the centre of the British economy. Bank of England museum staff will audio describe key elements of the collection, and visitors will have the opportunity to handle objects, including a genuine gold bar worth more than £400,000 and weighing 13 kg. I'm ignorant. Sorry about that. Kilograms, I thought it was, yes. Sorry about that. A banknote printing plate and sheets of uncut banknotes are off the press. This tour will explore themes such as the foundation of the bank during the reign of William III, the origin of banknotes, the architecture of the building, and the role of the bank today. This event is designed for blind and partially sighted people who are interested in visiting museums and galleries, but don't have regular access to a companion who can accompany them. Vocal Eyes has teamed up with Shape Arts and trained their volunteers in guiding techniques. These guides will be available to meet visitors at a main public transport stop and accompany them to the Bank of England Museum. They will also be on hand to guide visitors around the venue, and at the end of the event accompany them back to a main transport stop. If you are blind or partially sighted, or know someone who is and would enjoy this event, please get in touch with Vocal Eyes. Their email address is enquiries@vocalize, or one word, .co.uk. Telephone 0207 375 1043. That's 0207 375 1043. And now over to Joan, who will read the first item of local news.
More than 20 independent traders are facing eviction after plans to lease the site of the indoor market at Edmonton Green Shopping Centre were revealed only last week. On Thursday, 22 retailers, including the owners of a Turkish cafe, a Polish food shop, a clothing and bag shop, were told that their units in South Mall would no longer be available for rent. Talks to extend the contract between St. Modern, the property giant which owns the Edmonton Green Shopping Centre, and In Shops, a market operator which rents out space to the traders, broke down in January last year. At the time, St. Modern agreed a temporary contract with In Shops and put the space on the market, but neither party informed the traders renting the site until last week. Last month, High Street Bank Lloyd's TSB applied for planning permission to establish a branch on half of the indoor market site. The traders are furious. They were not told earlier about the plans and say that relocating will be too expensive and lead to a loss of customers. Syed Aksu, who opened up the Eat-In Cafe in February, said, "No one has communicated with us. At some point, In Shops knew they were going to leave. Why did no one tell us? I had to invest a lot of money setting up the business. 2 months later, I find out. Now I have to leave." Joanna Latsinska, who runs a baby clothes shop on the site, added, "St. Modern promised us we would get an explanation, but all they did was show us around empty units we cannot afford. The rent and deposit costs in other parts of the centre are worth more than my entire stock. I opened my shop 6 weeks ago and wasn't told anything. It is an outrage." A spokesman for In Shops said, "We have still not received official notice from St. Modwen that respective termination of our tenancy, and we have been forced to seek legal advice in respect of the letter issued to the tenants without our prior knowledge or consent. We are continuing to seek alternative premises in Edmonton and remain committed to the area." A spokeswoman for St. Modwen said, "We have no direct or contractual relationships with the retailers who operate from the in-shop units, and therefore we have not been party to discussions between in-shops and their tenants." A decision on Lloyd's TSB's planning application will be made next month. Now we have the Advertiser comment, the headline being, "Traders have not been treated fairly." The Edmonton traders threatened with eviction have been treated with a shocking level of disrespect. While negotiations between their landlord and the shopping centre's owners broke down more than a year ago, none of the parties thought it was necessary to inform the traders. St. Modwen's claim that it supports local businesses rings hollow, as no attempts have been made to find a similar empty unit into which Lloyd's TSB could move, allowing the traders to stay and rent directly from the owners. The group of 22 traders was shown a mere 6 units this week, and St. Modern could know full well that most of them cannot afford these. The Council's Planning Committee will not be able to take into consideration the social impact of the Lloyd's TSB move, but it will be a disaster for independent traders at a time when things are already tough enough.
People are being told how to look for the first signs of bowel cancer as part of a national campaign. During Bowel Cancer Awareness Month this April, staff at the BMI Kings Oak Hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, will be giving people advice on how to recognise the symptoms of the disease. Doctors are calling on people to watch out for any changes to their regular bowel habits, as after an extended period of time, this can be a warning sign of bowel cancer. Other signs include unexplained weight loss, feeling tired, without reason, or a lump in the stomach region. Consultant General and colorectal surgeon Ali Dvorkin said, "There is no clear reason why some people develop cancer while others do not. You can reduce your personal risk of developing cancer by making some simple lifestyle choices."
Staff at a children's charity have warned that the benefit reforms which are being piloted in Enfield this month could have a devastating impact on the borough's children. The benefits cap, which was introduced in Enfield and neighbouring Haringey on Monday, as well as in Bromley and Croydon in South London, will prevent people from receiving more than £26,000 a year from the state in benefits and welfare payments. Single parents and couples with kids will have their government support capped at £500 per week, regardless of how many children are in the family. The government claims the reforms will save the Treasury £110 million a year. But Dee Amer, Chief Executive of charity Enfield Parents and Children, which is based at Marsh House in Montague Road, Edmonton, has slammed the new proposals. She told The Advertiser, "Parents are getting even more stressed out at the thought of how they will cope on less money. Many of them can't even afford £1 or £2 for their children to come on one of our activities. They are counting every penny, and when vital things need replacing, like children's shoes and clothes, they just don't know how they're going to pay for it. As it is, they're going to food banks, and parents sometimes go hungry so children can eat. There is a real fear that unscrupulous loan sharks will take advantage of this situation and people will fall into deeper debt. Some families who used to have good incomes and lifestyles, who have lost their jobs, are also now facing challenging situations, and for their children this is extremely difficult to adjust to." A spokeswoman for Enfield Council told The Advertiser that local authority staff are estimating that more than 1,750 claimants in the borough will be affected by the changes. She added that because all state benefits will now be paid to claimants in one universal payment, people will no longer receive a specific housing benefit payment. So, to meet rent costs, they may have to make payments by dipping into child tax credits and child benefit sums. Ahmet Okner, the Council's Cabinet Member for Housing, said the authority estimates there will be more than 5,000 children in the borough affected by the cap. He added, "We also believe there could be a significant impact on children living in families at the lower end of the income scale, and we will be monitoring both the intended and unintended consequences of the reforms." Secretary of State for Work and Pensions Ian Duncan-Smith said, "The benefit cap is a key part of our reforms to restore fairness to the welfare state. It will provide clear incentives for people to get into employment and will give taxpayers the assurance that high claims out are no longer possible. We have also ensured vulnerable people are protected with clear exceptions for people claiming disability benefits."
Work to stop historic gates being damaged by vehicles has been given the go-ahead. Enfield Borough Council has received planning permission to widen the Grade 2 listed gates at 40 Hall, which it hopes will improve access for visitors. The work, which is due to start next year, will be paid for with £1.8 million granted by the Heritage Lottery Fund in 2011. Councillor Bambos Shalalambus, Cabinet Member for Leisure and Culture, said, "These Grade 2 listed gates have suffered a lot of damage over the years, as the entrance is very tight especially for larger service vehicles trying to gain entry. This widening scheme, done as part of the larger improvements to Forty Hall Park, has received support from the public, who are anxious to protect the heritage of the hall and its grounds. Colin Pointer, Vice President of the Enfield Society, said, "The Enfield Society, the Forty Hill and Bull's Cross Study Group, and the Friends of Forty Hall Park have for many years campaigned for a sensible solution to the problem of vehicles damaging the gate pillars."
4 teenagers standing trial for the murder of 15-year-old Negus McLean were involved in a bitter postcode rivalry, a court has heard. Brandon Hamilton, aged 18, of Broad Oak Avenue, Enfield Lock; Bilal Lariba, 18, of Mile Close, Enfield Lock; Tersham dos Santos Edwards, 19, of St Albans in Hertfordshire, and a 16-year-old who cannot be named for legal reasons, are all on trial at the Old Bailey. They are charged with the murder of the schoolboy in Edmonton on April the 10th, 2011. All 4 defendants deny the charges against them. On Monday, prosecuting counsel Simon Dennison QC told the court that the defendants were involved in a rivalry with teenagers from a neighbouring part of the borough. He said the 4 teenagers were part of the Get Money gang, based in the EN3 area of Enfield Lock, and that Negus was involved with their bitter rivals, Dem Afrikaans, based in Edmonton, N9. Mr. Dennison told the court, "This case arises out of an ongoing rivalry between 2 teenage gangs in North London that led to 3 young people being stabbed in 3 separate knife attacks in the space of 1 week in 2011. The first 2 victims were injured and survived. The third, a boy called Negus McLean, was not so fortunate." The court was told that Mr. Dennison was referring to the stabbing of Jamal Mahmoud, 16, on April the 3rd, 2011, in St. Stephen's Road, Enfield Lock. The prosecution says that this was an attack on a known Get Money gang member by their Edmonton rivals, Dem Afrikaans. 5 days later, in an attack the prosecution alleges was retaliation for the stabbing of Jamal, a member of the rival Dem Afrikaans gang, Okan Dumlumipa, was chased and repeatedly stabbed. Mr. Dennison told the jury this week of bloodletting culminated in the fatal stabbing of Negus, a close friend of Mr. Damlupina. According to the prosecution, both were members of Dem Afrikaans. Describing the nature of the evidence against the defendants, Mr. Dennison told the court, "In this case, the evidence of the murder of Negus McLean relies on a series of pieces of circumstantial evidence against each of the defendants charged with his murder. That will include evidence of their association with the GMG, and, if you accept it, cannot of itself prove guilt, but is a piece of the jigsaw, part of the overall picture that we say will go to prove guilt." He added that messages by the defendants via their phones and on the internet links them all to the knife attacks carried out that week in April 2011. The court heard that messages between Hamilton and his then-girlfriend place him at the scene when Jamal was stabbed and thrown into a canal in St. Stephen's Road. A BlackBerry phone message from Hamilton to his girlfriend read, "I haven't," and in brackets, "done nothing bad, but don't blame me if I go on a mad ting." According to Mr. Dennison, this means, "Don't blame me if I take revenge." A 17-year-old girl, who cannot be named for legal reasons, is standing trial, accused of perverting the course of justice. Hamilton is also charged with 1 count of wounding with intent in an earlier connected knife attack. The trial continues.
2 entrepreneurs who designed a way to charge a mobile phone using light from a tube train could be given a chance to pitch their business idea to Sir Richard Branson. Nathaniel Peat, 33 of New Park Avenue, Palmer's Green, and his 23-year-old business partner, Doa Ojerika of Elmhurst Road, Enfield, have made it through to the semi-finals of the Virgin Media Pioneers Pitch to Rich competition, a Dragon's Den-style contest involving the Virgin boss. The pair have started up a company that makes portable mobile phone chargers specifically designed to be charged by the bright lights of the London Underground. Explaining where inspiration for the product came from, Nathaniel said, "On the train late at night, a mobile phone is an essential safety tool when needing to call a cab or friend to meet you. Having a portable charger like this allows you to recharge on the go." The duo are determined to make it through to the last 4 of the competition, as they would have the opportunity to sell their idea to Sir Richard and win a £5,000 cash prize. "The money would be vital for our company," Nathaniel told the advertiser. "It means we could afford expert legal advice, branding and marketing advice and mentoring. This is a real example of a big company like Virgin helping out a smaller company." Trained engineer Nathaniel struck out on his own after a spell of unemployment and set up his personal safety organisation, the Safety Box. He met Doa, who had set up her own mobile phone accessory company, at a Virgin Media Pioneers networking event. Nathaniel realised that if they combined his engineering skills and experience of social enterprise with Doa's knowledge of the mobile phone accessory business, they could develop a strong product. The two are now relying on an online public vote to push them through to the finals of the competition. Voting is open until next Tuesday, and to vote for Nathaniel and Doa, visit www.virginmediapioneers.com.
A landlord who risked a tenant's health by failing to carry out repairs on his damp and mouldy flat has been ordered to pay nearly £3,000. Mark Tomlinson of Trojan's estate agents in Bush Hill Park, Enfield, was served with an improvement notice by Barnet Council in April last year after the tenant reported severe problems with damp and condensation in his ground floor flat in Oakley Road in Totteridge. The extensive problems included rising and penetrating damp throughout the flat, along with mould in the bathroom. Mr. Tomlinson pleaded guilty at Brent Magistrates Court earlier this month to failing to comply with the council's order and was ordered to pay £2,745. Cabinet Member for Housing Tom Davey said, "This is a positive result for the council and demonstrates our commitment to making sure landlords in Barnet keep their property in a fit and safe condition for their tenants."
An Arsenal fan has admitted throwing a banana at Tottenham Hotspur forward Gareth Bale. Thomas Flint of Brantwood Gardens, Enfield, hurled the fruit at the Welsh international during the club's derby clash at White Hart Lane on March the 3rd, which Spurs went on to win 2-1. At Highbury Corner Magistrates Court on Friday, the 23-year-old carpenter Flint admitted throwing a missile onto the playing area and threatening behaviour. The court heard Flint was a regular at games and on the day was seen swearing at Spurs fans. Flint, who was said to have no interests other than football, was sentenced to a 3-year football banning order, fined £250 and ordered to pay costs of £85 and a £25 victim surcharge. He was supported by family and friends in court.
To mark 100 years since its official opening, Grovelands Park will be hosting a huge variety of events next month, including a historical pageant and a range of dance sessions. Tony Guyver and Mick MacDonald, members of the Friends of Grovelands Park, have organised a fun community event which is due to take place on May the 18th and 19th at the park in the Bourne, Southgate. Kicking off the 2-day celebration is a historical pageant organised by schools and community groups in a bid to replicate the 1913 opening. Other events include Dance Through the Ages, when people will have the chance to learn popular dance moves from across the years. Visitors can put their best foot forward and try everything from tea dancing to the jitterbug. The Friends of Grovelands Park are also encouraging people to dress up in the clothing of the generation for the procession. Tony hopes that the centenary celebrations will not only mark the park's special anniversary, but also show how much it means to the community. She told the advertiser, "After such a long and bleak winter, we all need some lovely cheer. I think that the dance events through the ages will be a great hit, and the whole weekend will be really exciting and vibrant an occasion with lots of music and dance. And we want the local community to have a great weekend and to mark the 100 years of our park with a flourish." Organisers are still looking for volunteers to help the 2-day celebration run smoothly. Anyone interested in getting involved should email grovelands100@gmail.com.
We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.